So, you guys, happy time zone friends. I'm Lulu Soul, and today I get to interview KD and Vic Fraser. Did I say that right?
You
Yes.
did.
Okay, yes! All right, yes, victory for
Yes.
me. These two are an amazing duo. They do audiobooks, and if you have not gotten the chance to listen to any of their audiobooks, you are missing out because the performances are absolutely amazing. They've been in the game for a little while now, and I am going to be asking them some of the more adulting ish questions of the side of narration. But that's how I see you guys. When you get the chance, could you tell the chat who you are and what you do from your perspective?
Yes. I'm Kate. Um,
I'm Vic.
and we have been doing this for about 2 years. It'll be 2 years next month, actually. Um, and we primarily do duet narration, and I do solo, primarily sapphic narration. Although I do have a psychological thriller that I'm working on right now. Um, yeah, we primarily do romance because, I mean, that's where most of the duet work lies.
All right, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna start off with my first question for you guys.
Yes.
Please.
What is your favorite part of narrating?
Go ahead.
Uh, um, I really, really enjoy getting to voice characters and embody characters that are the things that I want to see in myself, and thereby get to play a part where I can sort of take little bits and pieces of that and bring it into my own life and have that, like, where I can pretend to be that character in other situations where, like, maybe I'm not as confident as I'd like to be, but I can pretend to be that character that I've sort of embodied in a, you know, as much as I can, in the booth, and take that with me somewhere else and actually feel that kind of confidence, or that, whatever it might be. As much as I'd like to spread wings or, grow a tail or whatever it might be, can't do that, but I can at least pretend to have some of those characteristics of these characters I play.
I like the character work as well. Um, but I think the fact that, like, I get to read books for a living, and typically ones that I like, I also get to work for myself and from home, which is glorious.
Those are all fantastic favorite things. I loved hearing all of that. Going to the next question. So, how do you guys go about the interview process when you're preparing to audition for a book?
I find a book that seems interesting and I say, "Hey, we should audition for this." And then he's like, "But we're already booked out and our lives are chaotic." And I'm like, "But we're doing it anyway." And that's pretty much it. No, I look for books that seem interesting. We are we work for, like, per finished hour work a lot of the time, but we also, for, like, a more budget friendly option, will offer royalty share plus for people. Um we're more discerning with the royalty share plus, because we do want to make money back on that. So I will kind of vet books and authors whenever we're looking at those. But otherwise it's just kind of like, I I'm a sucker for a pretty cover. And so that'll draw me in initially, and then I'll typically look at, the synopsis, the genre, um, that kind of a thing, and then we'll go from there. So,
Ooh, okay. Do you guys have a favorite genre that you look forward to?
I mean, dark romance is like our primary one, whether it's fantasy, paranormal, or contemporary, we're good with any of them. I enjoy doing Why Choose, but that tends to put a lot of pressure on him because then he has to voice multiple male leads and like make them different enough that people can tell the difference. So,
but I honestly really enjoy it. I like the challenge. It can be tough, like if I'm having an off day or if I'm getting sick in any way, like there's certain voices I just can't hit. But I mean, I'm sure you know. But it's even more so when, like, you know, you're trying to come up with those distinct voices and keep them distinct throughout the chapters. And also, you know, a little bit as far as the narration, when we do multi POV, try to keep those characters POV within the same kind of general vibe of the characters as well. Like try to import just a little bit of that personality into their POV narration as well. And it's something that I strive for a lot because it's always been really important to me. But like growing up listening to narrators like Jim Dale and Stephen Fry, like, you know, narrators that you can listen to and like they embody every one of those characters and they come up with unique voices for every single one and they can recall them perfectly. And, you know, obviously they're classically trained actors and like I will hopefully someday be at that level.
Andy Serkis, did you say Andy Serkis?
Oh man, Andy
fucking
Serkis,
ridiculous, man.
Amazing. So like growing up with those and having those be one of the earliest ways that I remember, you know, embodying stories and living in these stories, it's really important to me to have that chance to do something similar. So I honestly really love Why Choose for that reason. It can be a little bit more work, but yeah, I think it's a lot of fun.
All right, so writers, you heard it. If you are trying to woo this couple, you need to have a really cool cover, awesome characters, and an engaging dark romance, potentially. Why choose? I mean, I'm interested in any of these things, so like
I'm also we've been looking really hard for some traditional harem books because I want the opportunity to voice multiple characters, and we've come across a couple that we've auditioned for, but either they're not willing to wait or they can't afford our rates. And that's cool. Like I understand, like I mean it is expensive, and like they're not willing to negotiate on the royalty share plus side of things. They only want to do a straight per finished hour and they can't afford our per finished hour rates, which is fine. But there was one that I really, really wanted to do. That was like, it was like, I can't remember the title of it. It was like how to feed and care for your incubus or something like that. And like it was like giantess sisters and like this incubus, and I was like, I need this in my life. And unfortunately, like he was just like, yeah, unfortunately that's a little out of my price range. I was like, I get it, but oh my god, I want to narrate this book.
well, on the times that you do the royalty share plus, you kind of just answered it, but I'm going to ask it because it's on the list. What will attract you most to okay, this is worth it to offer the royalty share plus option? And for anyone who doesn't know, royalty share plus is when a narrator will accept a job with royalty shares, which is when that book sells, you get paid a little bit. But the plus action means there's a per finished hour rate as well. And it's usually, if I'm correct, a little bit less than if the royalty share weren't there.
We actually do half. We do half of our per finished hour rate. Because I'm an indie author as well, and I know how ridiculously expensive it is. And so we try to offer that to people fairly regularly. Obviously, ideally is getting paid full per finished hour, but and it does like the per finished hour does the royalty share plus does limit things a little bit, because then you're roped into a contract with not only us but also with Audible for 7 years. And so I understand why people hesitate on it, because people want to go wide because there is more money if you're able to put it on other platforms. But in order for us to kind of accept a royalty share plus book, like I said, and what will initially attract me to it is a good cover. And then I kind of do a deep dive on the author. I will look for social media presence, because we've been burned by some royalty share projects in the past, where the authors don't do any marketing. And then I will check their sales ranking on Amazon, and I have a whole list of criteria that goes into that based on release dates, like the ranking not only overall within the Kindle store, but also what the fuck is wrong with me right now? Within the genre itself, because like Kindle books, whenever they list the rankings, it's like it'll list the overall ranking and then it'll list the top 3 genres that it ranks within. So like for, my one personal book, like it's like it'll be, 150,000 overall in the Kindle store, and then it'll be like top, 16,000 in enemies to lovers romance and whatever else, like dark fantasy romance. And so it has like a couple of those listed after it. So there are a lot of nuanced things that you have to take into consideration whenever it comes to genre. It has to be within a genre that we're interested in. And because like, I mean, if we're going to be doing it for much less than we would normally make, then there has to be a little something extra in it for us, and that is enjoyment in reading it. And then also the ratings. So my personal criteria is at least a 3.4 rating on either Amazon or Goodreads, because they tend to differentiate between like the two of them. So, and I typically want there to be a certain number of reviews. If a book has not been released yet, then I will look at that author's other books to see what their books typically sit at with reviews. As far as whether or not we've ever had a royalty share plus book earn more than we would have gotten per finished hour, we have a straight royalty share book that we have made a good bit more on than we would have if it had been per finished hour. But there's a couple of things going on with that. One, whenever we booked it, we were charging far less per finished hour than we currently are, because it was one of our first big books. And also it is in the Audible Plus catalog. So if you have any paid Audible subscription, it's in their catalog that's included for free if you pay for that subscription. So and you get paid by hours listened rather than by sales. And that's the only reason that we make more on that than we do on per finished hour. We have a couple that we have good sales on, but it'll be interesting to see if that declines once the initial excitement of the books coming out peters off.
So as narrators, we all know that we expect authors to look at our portfolios, but it's good to know authors out there, narrators, are also looking at your catalogs and your portfolio.
Oh yeah, I am scrutinizing the shit out of you.
So update those websites. Keep yourself out there, keep yourself noticed.
I will rarely look at a person's website, but I will look at their socials, and that's like the biggest thing. Like, I need to know that they're putting in... He dropped his mic.
Oh no.
That they're putting in some amount of effort into advertising. Like, and it doesn't have to be paid. I just need them to be marketing on some level on social media.
That they're willing to put in the work to make sure the book gets out there. Well, now this next question, if you do not want to answer, in fact, any of these questions, if at any point you don't want to answer, just say the word pass and we'll just go straight to the next question.
I'm an open book, unless I can't come up with a good answer, and then I'm gonna be like,
What are your per finished hour rates and how did you choose them?
So right now, so my solo per finished hour rate is $250. And that is standard, the minimum SAG-AFTRA rate. And I am not unionized, but I won't go lower than union rates. And I did whenever I first started as I was building a portfolio. But like for a full per finished hour, I won't go lower than that. And like I said, I do half as much for my royalty share plus projects. And I will occasionally work for royalty share for solo stuff because a lot of it is just like, I enjoy narrating sapphic books, and also there is a market for them that isn't oversaturated yet, and so like I'm good with that. And then our duet, we don't do dual. It would be very silly for us to do dual, being that we are married and we record together. So our per finished hour rate for duet is $400 per finished hour. And then again, we do half for royalty share plus. And because what we bring to the table, like as a married couple, as you know, people who are working very closely together on this, we work within the booth together, and so we bring chemistry to the table that is a little bit difficult to replicate whenever you are recording as two separate people, states or countries apart. So there's that. And there's also the fact that because we are recording together, the two of us are working. I do all of our editing, but any hours that are spent in the booth are spent in the booth with both of us. And so you are essentially paying for both of our time as far as like booth time is concerned. So
That is excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us. Because I think setting rates, as a new narrator myself, setting rates is probably one of the most difficult. Like, how do I decide to do this? So that was really helpful. Thank you.
It's also one of the most contested. Like if you go onto any of the groups, which there are a ton of really, really helpful Facebook groups and maybe even some Reddit groups and other places. I know that one of the most helpful for us has been the ACX group on Facebook. It's been a pretty great resource with a lot of really great, helpful people.
Yeah, and for the most part, people are really good in that group. Some of them are a little, but like it's very few and far between.
But if you ask on there, like, hey, what should I put my rate at? You'll get, anyone who says you should do it for free just for exposure. And then you get other people who say like, don't do it for anything less than SAG-AFTRA rates. And like, it's, you'll get such a huge variety. And like, really what it comes down to is, as a new narrator, like, do what you're comfortable with, but really try to understand what your worth is, because I'm definitely, and I think a lot of us are guilty of kind of getting brainwashed over the past, I don't know, who knows, 10, 20, 30
our
years,
entire lives,
to think that, we should be lucky if a company wants to work with us, or we should be lucky if we get hired at a job. And like, we exist just to work. So it's really hard to remember to value yourself, but you have to kind of strike a chord and figure out if you think that your time just starting out, if exposure is what's really important to you, then you can go for royalty share projects and like really broaden your options, because there are a lot of royalty share books out there, and some of them are really, really great. I mean, most of them are.
And there are some people who make $30,000-$40,000 a year with royalty share, but they have a couple of hundred royalty share books that they have done, and like you just have to keep doing royalty share books because like that passive income is fantastic. But 7 years is all the longer you get for those royalties, and then they time out, and then the rights revert to the author, and like it's considered like paid, you know what I mean, like your time has been paid. And so you have to just keep doing royalty share projects in order to keep those like consistent, because like a couple drop off and then you add a couple more on, and so
yeah, you're never gonna get rich. I mean, maybe, but it's very unlikely that you're gonna get rich from one royalty share book that you do one time and then wait a couple of months or years or whatever. It's if you want to do royalty share and try to make a living or try to make any amount of money, it's really a numbers game. And I'm not at a point where I would say like I can.
Sorry.
You good?
Yeah.
Surprise.
Just a little hiccup.
I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but I would strongly recommend not going into this expecting to crank out a bunch of royalty share projects and think that you're going to make money over time. It's really, I think, it's a really self-defeating way of coming into this industry.
We have been doing this for 2 years, and we are just now getting to a point where we are paying our bills consistently with our narration money. So, I mean, that's a long time to wait, and it can be discouraging whenever, you're first starting out and, like, you're not getting any projects, or the projects that you're getting are all royalty share, or if they're not royalty share, you're only making $75 per finished hour, and, like, it can be rough. It can be rough out here, like, so
Well, you guys have reached that point, though, so congratulations, by the way, on
Thank
that. That is
you.
amazing. And if I'm correct, you guys are like booked out quite frequently.
Yeah, and a little overbooked, honestly. Like it's a little overwhelming. We currently have 19 books in the wings on ACX, plus an additional 4 or 5 that are outside contracts or that are not listed for pre-sale, like ebook pre-sale, and because they're not on Amazon, they can't be on ACX. And so what, like, kind of our process, I mean, we have 4 children. We can't record until they go to bed. And I have to do all of our editing, like, while they're in school, or, that kind of a thing. And with summer coming up, it's going to be a nightmare. Anyway, um, we schedule one longer book per month. So by longer book, I mean between 7 and 12 hours, give or take. And then, so say I book, a 7-hour book for May, then I have a bit of wiggle room of about 5 hours where maybe we could do a novella. And so we right now have one longer book scheduled every month between now and March of next year. And we are on a wait list because we were like, we don't want to go out further than a year right now. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, we're trying to join a couple of rosters and, like, get work through maybe Podium or Dark Star, or like those kinds of places. But also we have a bunch of authors that we are working with right now that we are doing a series for, and we need to leave availability in our schedule to complete those series, because that is the other thing. We typically will not take on royalty share books that are going to be us changing narrators, like us picking up in the middle of a series, because people get big mad about that.
Which is understandable. Like, you
Oh
get
yeah.
connected to these characters, you get connected to the way that a narrator does these characters, and they become synonymous with the way you think of these characters in your mind or hear them. And then somebody else comes in and they do it differently, and it's like, it's almost like borderline violating in a way, where like you're like, this isn't the character, like this isn't them anymore. And you kind of have to split this thing in your head and have like 2 versions of these characters. At least that's the way it is for me. But I am wicked autistic, so
It's like that one character that they swapped out in Game of Thrones, where you really liked the actor, and then they were like, just kidding, we're putting somebody different in. It's really jarring. But also, like, we don't want to do that to any authors, where we're like, we take on a project and then they're like, we need you to do this other book in the series later, and like, we're like, oh, sorry, too bad, so sad, we're scheduled out for the next 2 years.
yeah.
So
And I do just want to take a minute and like hijack the conversation a little, and just like thank authors in general, not just the authors that we're working with, but especially the ones that have worked with us and reached out to us. Like, there have been so many, like, we are legitimately like friends with a couple of authors now, because we've worked with them and had such good relationships with them. And like, it's amazing to have these people come and say, we like your work enough that we want to work with you, not just once, but like across multiple books. And like, I heard your voices and you're perfect for these characters. And like, it's so incredibly humbling to come into something that still makes me feel self-conscious and still makes me have such imposter syndrome, and have people say, like, I heard like this 10-second clip and like, you're perfect for this character, and like, I want this, what you can do for these characters, like, embodies them so perfectly. And like, that's so incredibly humbling. and it, you know, it'll never, never. I can say, like, I was gonna say hope, but I know it'll never be lost on me how important it is to, you know, give reverence to these characters and like respect authors and the work that they've done. So yeah, I incredibly, like, I appreciate it so much, how much work we have coming, and like how many books we have coming, like we're so excited about. And yeah, it's been amazing.
And he's also seen and I've felt the nightmare that is publishing. Like, it's like, because he's seen me go through it, and obviously I've gone through it, and like, you build these characters and you become so attached to these characters. And then, you know, trusting somebody to do them justice. Like, I'm trying to cast out my biggest Why Choose series, and there are 7 male main characters, and I'm not having him do all of them. Because like that's too much. Like, that's too much for one person. I don't know if Lauren is still in here, but she is like voicing an entire Why Choose series that is like super super packed with dudes by herself. And like the nightmare that it would be, I just can't even imagine. And so I'm trying to cast out my, you know, big series and trusting people. And I'm a micromanager, and I recognize that about myself. But I just don't know. It's gonna sound fine. You're amazing. Um, but like I'm so picky about my narrators, and that's like for a couple of reasons. Like, I need them to be like good for like my book babies. Like, they need to match my characters, but also they need to match our vibe. Because like, if they have a very, you know, like a traditional narrator voice, that's not going to work with us, because we narrate in a very conversational way.
When so with your current availabilities and whatnot, when you contact a rights holder or an author to give your availability rates, do you do that like when you submit your audition or afterwards? Like, what is that process like?
It depends on the book for me.
Okay.
If I'm super, super, super excited about a book, I will typically, and this is a little underhanded, and I'm gonna admit that right out the gate, I will send the audition without any notes. And I'll be like, listen to my voice and decide if you like it, and then you contact me. And then like I don't give them any notes. Like, I just like I set the bait, and then I wait for them to respond. And then I'm like, by the way, here's our availability and our rates. And if they can wait, and then that's great. And most of the time people are like, you know what, I'm obsessed. I'm gonna wait for you guys to be available. Other times people are like, nah, I have a really tight deadline. I'm not willing to wait that long. Totally cool. Sometimes we get these really rude messages that are like, are you really booked out that far? Like, why would I lie about that, my guy? I'm not trying to like pull one over on you in a really weird way.
And
Um,
occasionally we get a message where someone's like, darn, I really wanted to work with you, but I can't wait that long. It's just not going to work out. And we have to be like, oh, man, we really liked your book too. Like, it's just not going to work out. That's sad. Like, ships passing in the night. And then 3 or 4 months later, the message back, like, well, maybe I'm willing to wait because I really liked you guys. That's an incredibly humbling thing to
that
hear.
happened with one of our books, and this author is so sweet, and I adore her. And her books, I'm very excited about the book that we are doing for her. And I'm not going to say who or what it is, because we don't have the contract signed yet. But um yeah, super super nice. And it's I don't know, validating, I guess, whenever that happens.
Okay, so this next question might be the most important question of the night.
Mm,
What is your favorite unpopular pizza topping?
pineapple.
Yeah.
I love pineapple
Is
on
that
pizza.
unpopular?
People it is polarizing. People hate pineapple on pizza and people love pineapple on pizza, and there is no in between. It's not, but for most people it's not like, oh, this is a generally acceptable pizza topping. It's either yes or no.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people like that. That might just be like the popular thing to be mad about. Like, it's like, I hate pineapple on pizza and also Nickelback.
You know, I think there's just something attractive about the savory and sweet of the pineapple on pizza.
Yeah.
So
you got that like the acidic little like the bite of it, and then there's also the cheese, and like it's just really good. Yeah, like 100%. Pineapple is amazing.
We do pineapple and chicken because I'm not a big fan of ham.
Ooh.
And so we will do a white pizza with pineapple and chicken on it.
I'm hungry now. I want pizza. So going back into business mode just a little bit. When you guys are preparing to accept or reject, working with deciding if you're going to work with someone, what questions do you normally ask the rights holder or the author before you'll accept a project?
You know, I don't really ask things. Maybe I should. If we get any vibes at all that it was written by AI, we're out. We don't touch it. We don't want to be associated with that. That's our biggest thing. The only thing that I personally will have a problem with narrating is human on animal physical interaction. I will not touch that. I'm even like within shifter romances, I'm not into that. Oh no, Lauren. Oh no. We have not rejected one because of content. We have rejected one because like we were 90% sure that it was AI. We got into recording it, and halfway through the book the characters' names changed.
And I just want to point out, yes, I'm sure that there's at least some new and probably some veteran narrators that are like, didn't you prep it beforehand? And the answer is no, we didn't, because at the time, we are doing better now. But at the time, we were not prepping manuscripts as much as we should and not reading through them. We have started to change that process considerably, because that was like the first chapter was the audition, and it was amazing. Like, it was really great. It was funny. It was succinct. Like, there was so much to love about it, and we both fell in love with it, and we were so excited.
And it was a lit RPG, which is something that we hadn't done before, and we were so excited about it.
So yeah, just then getting into the next chapter and having everything change entirely. And of course, you can never say whether something is AI for sure or not. But whether it is AI or not, if you're a narrator and you're reading through a book and things change drastically, and the character names change, and like the way that words are used changed entirely, you need to decide at what point you can step away from a project, because like if you have to mentally edit a book to fix errors going through it, then that is, outside of the bounds of the ACX contract.
Mm-hmm.
You are supposed to be given a finished manuscript that is production ready, and if you do not have that, then that is considered a breach of contract.
And that particular project was royalty share, and it's not going to make sales if it's garbage. So we're not doing that. But we will ask if there are any accents that we should be aware of, because we got burned on that real bad with one of our per finished hour books that we did. We got partway through and there was like Spanish, like actual Spanish in it, and then also characters who had Hispanic accents. Like, they were side characters who, like, weren't super prevalent in the book.
Yeah.
But my Hispanic accent is trash. And I sent it to one of my friends, and I was like, at the same time, like, I sent her a message and she sent me a message, and I was like, it sounds Slavic. And she was like, why do you sound Czech? And I was like, I don't know.
Oh no.
I don't know. It was bad, but the character literally had maybe 20 lines in the entire book. So like, but it was bad. I feel bad about it. It was trash.
Oh,
And again,
no.
like that's where, like, whether you're a veteran narrator and you know this, or you're just coming into this, you typically should prep your scripts beforehand. But it is an undertaking. It's a huge undertaking, and it is a skill. So it's definitely something that you should, find your own flow with, or find another narrator that's willing to give you some notes or a template or something. But what we have started doing is really relying on authors, because, like, authors usually know their book pretty well. Obviously, you can't say, hey, like, how many times you use this word in your book? Like, an author's not going to answer questions like that. But usually most authors can tell you, hey, here's some sections of the book that have this or that. So we've been prepping, but also doing this kind of hybrid model where we ask the authors, a fairly extensive list
I have
of
a form.
questions. Yeah.
It's an annoying form. It's like, how many main characters are in your book? How many secondary characters are in your book? How many side characters are in your book? What accents do they have? Do they have any vocal tics? Like, it's like a 25 question like form that I require them to fill out. I also demand a pronunciation guide. Also got burned on that one once. So, like,
Because there's nothing worse than pronouncing a world name 3 or 4 times in 2 chapters, or going through half the book and pronouncing the world name 25 times, and then having the author come back and say, like, oh, I love this, but the world name is actually pronounced with, like, an ly on the end, and you're pronouncing it entirely different. Like, that's the only issue, and then you got to go back and do 25 pickups across the entire book, and, like, if you just had it correct in the first place. So yeah, like, authors, please, if you have unique names for characters or worlds or whatever it might be, please send a voice note. Like, send a voice
no,
note.
I need a phonetic spelling.
I prefer voice notes
because I need to be able to search it. I can't, like, if you have a, if you have a world that has 50 or 60 words and or names that need to be pronounced a specific way, I need to be able to search that document and see the phonetic spelling. And I'm not going to make you sit there and send me a voice note with 50 or 60 words. I am 30 or 40 years old. I don't have time for that.
See, my anxiety dictates that I need to have, like, I need to know how the author wants it pronounced in their ear, because, like, it makes it sound the way that I want to hear it.
If there's one that I can't get, like, Nick isn't in here, but if Nick were in here, I would be scolding them. They have 2 words that we are saying 9,000 times in this book, and it is the 2 kingdoms. And gave me a phonetic spelling of it. And so then they had to send me a voice note. But I fixed it. So it's fine.
All right. Well, I guess unless you're working with me specifically, send a phonetic spelling. But if it's me, please send a voice note. That'll just help my anxiety.
Or maybe ask the narrator,
Yeah.
would you like a phonetic or a voice note?
Like, I don't need it to be actual phonetics. Like, you can do it in a way that makes sense to you, and I should be able to discern it.
So how much time do you guys spend prepping your scripts?
0.
0? Okay.
That's, yeah. No, a lot of people tell you that you really need to prep scripts, and would it save us a little bit of time? Likely. But for a couple of reasons. One, I enjoy being surprised while, like, I'm reading the book live. Like, I enjoy, because I feel like my emotions are more genuine in those instances. I had one book where I literally sobbed an entire chapter, 2 of them actually, because they had just, like, the most heartbreaking chapters. And so I enjoy that, but also my ADHD dictates that the first time that I read something is the most interesting, and if I have to do it again after I already read it, I'm bored. So
I feel that. Well, so how much time do you guys take recording versus editing?
So recording is interesting. Vic is dyslexic, and so that obviously is a struggle while we're reading, because, like, his brain doesn't follow reading reason the way that mine does. And so we do end up having to do some more, like, some extra takes on his end, because, like, there are certain words that like always get swapped around in his brain. But on average, I we probably spend, I would say, like 2.5-ish to 3 hours recording per finished hour of audio. And then editing, I probably spend an hour and a half editing per finished hour of audio. So I have my editing down to a science that, like, it is very fast for me. And so that kind of helps even out that, like, recording time that, like, we have that little bit of extra. So
Okay. That's dreams right there. It's narrator, editor goals. This is the last question of the night before the super fun getting to hear you guys narrate. What are some of the business slash marketings that you've seen from rights holders that makes the audiobook more successful, if any?
Oh my God. So I wish she was in here. Hannah, whose last name I can't remember or pronounce. She has a book called Ruin Me, that she just released. And one of, like, her biggest marketing things, one, she has a street team. That's huge. Two, she has artwork done for her characters. Massive. People are obsessed with artwork. And it's more interesting than AI. People are much more likely to stop and look at well done art than they are to look at an AI image, in my experience. Um, we did not narrate this book, but I'm still going to talk about it because, like,
Absolutely.
she does an amazing job with her marketing. And then she had us record a bunch of short, very short, like 1 to 2 line snippets, or like one back and forth between characters, and added those to the artwork, and then shared those on, like, as videos. And so I think the reason why that works is because, as a society, between TikTok, Instagram, quick content, our attention span, like, I last about 3 seconds before I decide whether I'm going to swipe on a video on TikTok or Instagram. And so, because they're such short snippets, people will listen to them the full way through. And the more full length listens that you have to an audio, like, the more people that listen to it from start to finish, the more it gets pushed out in the algorithm. And the more it gets pushed out in the algorithm, the more people see it. And the more people see it, there was, like, a statistic the one time that it can take people, like, if people see your book cover or your book mentioned, like, 25 times or something like that, it might be more, that's when people are likely to actually purchase or read your book. They have to, like, it has to sit in their brain like a couple dozen times before they're going to actually consider reading it. And so the more it gets pushed out in the algorithm and the more people see it, the more, like, likely people are to read it. So
Speaking of reading, you guys have a snippet, right?
yes, he had to step out. Our 3-year-old just woke up crying, so he stepped out for a second to
Okay.
go deal with that really quick.
Oh, during that time, do you want to shout out? Because I think it's one of your books, right?
Yes, it's from my book Fake the Wedding Date, which is a surprise pregnancy reverse age gap fake dating rom-com. That's a lot of words, but it's a really good time. It's messy, it's dramatic, and it was such a fun time to write. It came from an idea that we had, and there's going to be more books in the series where there is a fake dating um service
Agency.
where it's like hire, a boyfriend to make your family jealous, or like, hire a boyfriend to make your, creepy landlord back off, or like hire a fake boyfriend to come pick you up from the bar because somebody's being weird. Like, and so we're, working on that, and I have the second one coming out this year, which is Fake the Vacation Date. But yeah, this one was a lot of fun to write, and like Sophie is very, very near and dear to my heart. Sophie is very near and dear to my heart because she is adorable and plus sized, and coming out of a divorce and finding herself again. And Emmett is, a 20-something who had his military career destroyed by an accident, and like is basically just floating, and then they come together, and it's super sweet. So also, like, for anybody who likes this surprise pregnancy but has stipulations on it, the baby is not his. So that's also important point of order, because some people really hate that trope a lot. So, all right. This is one of Emmett's chapters. Can you move my water?
I can indeed.
Okay. I'm gonna start from the all alone line. Like, I'm gonna skip the initial. So, background: Sophia and Emmett are at a engagement party for her ex-husband, who is getting married to her niece, who is almost half her ex-husband's age, and who he cheated on her with, but she's being forced by her mother to attend all of the celebrations. So Caitlin is her sister, Izzy is her niece. All right. You ready?
I think so.
All alone.
A playful feminine voice calls from behind me. I glance over my shoulder to find Caitlin walking toward me. Frickin' great.
Oh, Joe, if you're still here, you might want to not let your children hear this.
We can edit it as well as we can.
Well, no, because there's some insinuations that probably are not appropriate for children. So that can be picked up on. Sorry. Where did my sister run off to? Too embarrassed to be seen here?
She's just using the restroom, but I'll be sure to pass on your concerns.
Oh, don't be like that, Emmett. After all, we're practically family.
She places her hand on my forearm, and vomit tries to work its way up my throat. Pulling my arm away from her, I shoot her a dirty look. If tonight is any indication about what it means to be your family, I want nothing to do with it. Your sister doesn't either. So why don't you respectfully blank off? She doesn't even flinch.
Oh, come on. Everyone in our family knows that you're just with Sophia for the money. Why else would someone as handsome and as smart as you be with her? I promise that whatever she does for you in bed, I can do it better.
She places her hand on my chest and drags it down until she's nearly touching somewhere. Even if you were the last woman on Earth, I wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole. I grasp her wrist and shove her away from me.
But you'll screw my fat cow of a sister? Ugh, you must have something wrong with you.
I just have taste. Now keep your... and I'll see your...
Keep up.
Editing on the fly is fun.
Yeah.
Now, keep up your blank. And I'll see your husband.
Nope.
And I'll tell your husband that you assaulted me. I somehow doubt he'd have... These chapters are slow. Hang on.
Did I not send you screenshots?
You did, but I got it. All right. I'm going to use crap instead, because that seems like a better word.
Okay.
That won't get us in trouble. Now keep up your crap, and I'll tell your husband that you assaulted me. I somehow doubt that he'd have very little difficulty believing me.
Emmett?
Sophia's voice floats through the air. Hey, babe. I was just starting to worry. I say, reaching for her, pulling her in for a kiss. Did you know that your niece isn't the only home-wrecking... I can't think of a better word. Did you know that your niece isn't the only home-wrecking person in your family? Your sister here was just trying to tell me that she's better in bed than you are. But I highly doubt that she can do that little trick. The one you do with your, you know. In fact...
You can say that word.
I mean, that's... All right.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I highly doubt that she can do that little trick you do. The one you do with your tongue. In fact, I'd like to get you home so we have a little time for that night. Tonight. A little time for that tonight. What do you say? Sophia turns crimson and presses her face into my neck, trying to hide.
You aren't supposed to tell people about that.
But it's so good. And I want everyone to be jealous. I kiss her greedily, making her gasp. Now, be good. Sorry, back up. Now, be good, love. Let's say goodbye to your parents and let's get home. She chews her lip and nods.
Let's go.
Caitlin is stunned, mouth hanging open. Then she stomps her foot and stomps off, looking more like a petulant teenager than a grown-ass woman. We make our rounds, saying goodbye to all the important people, and then we work our way toward the front.
Before we run away real quick, do you guys want to share the best way to find you if there's an author out there wanting to join the battle royale that is your current queue?
I am very intimidated by web creations, so we don't have a website yet. We do, in our link in our bio, we have an email address where you can email us. It's very disorganized. I am struggling with it a little bit, but that is the best way to reach us. We obviously are on social media. You can put initial requests there, but I'm still going to send you an email and lay everything out for you. So,
well, there you guys have it. That's how you can contact these guys. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us for this interview. Katie, Vic, thank you again.
Of course.
This was awesome.
This was super fun.
I'm bad at endings, so I'm just gonna go, okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Good night.